Hey guys! In this video, we're going to be creating a cute iOS widget using SwiftUI and WidgetKit in Xcode. We'll also be using email and password authentication with Firebase. The good thing about this project is it's small and simple enough for you to edit and add on so that you can make this project your own. So without further ado, let's get coding and have some fun! First, let's look at our overview of what our app should look like at the very end. We want the user to be able to sign up and have a unique code so that they could pair with your partner. And yeah, and when they log in, one of the users should not be able to reach the daily goal, but the other user, when they log back in, they should be able to be connected to their user and also be able to win. First, let's create our app. And remember your bundle ID because we're going to need that in our Firebase setup. Now, first install CocoaPods. We are going to use that to link Firebase with our SwiftUI. And in our folder, initialize pod, then open the pod file. And we want to add our port dependencies, Firebase, and also the image library that we're gonna need for our animated images. Then we'll install pod, and when we go into our folder we should see our pod file and also a workspace file, and use that instead of the initial project file because this is where you're gonna see all of our dependencies installed. Now let's go into our Firebase console and create our project. Then we have to create our iOS app, and this is where you place your bundle ID from before. Great, and we'll have to download this config file. We can go ahead and create our authentication, email and password enabled, and also create our Firestore. And we create our database and in test mode. And that should be our basis setup ready to go. First, let's import our config file that we downloaded. Then we'll want to import Firestore in our main app and Firebase Auth and also Firebase Firestore. Next, we want to initialize our Firebase app and configure that. And we also want a Firebase manager so that we have like a cohesive place where we can reuse the same function again and again. And this would be an observable object. And this is like initializing our collection name that we're going to be storing our users and our users collection. Great. We also want to have our basic data profile. So these are the fields that we want to have in our users collections documents. We want to store the user code, their partner code, and also the partner's UID, the color, the count, last updated username, and also email. We'll also be using update so we don't have to ping our database over and over again. And we can also use this to keep track of if the user is signed in or not. Now let's create all of the files, our screens, root file, a root view connect screen, and we want to have our root view as our content view. So we're gonna import our app state in our basic app file and also use our root view and insert our app state into there. We want to import Firestore in our root view and also initialize the app state. And we also want to know if the app is loading, so we're going to have that variable. Now it's our logic of what the app should show when it loads. So if the user is not signed in, we want to show our authentication view. And if it's loading, we just want to say that it's loading. And if the app state is connected, we are going to show our main screen. And if it's not, then we're going to show our connect screen. We had an error here. Let's switch it back to main screen instead of main view. Okay, so if the app appears, we want to check if the user is signed in, then we'll say it's true, and we're going to load the user data. If not, we're going to assign in to false. Then let's write our load user data function. So we want to guard if the user ID is signed in, and if it is, then we're going to have our document reference using our users collection and the user's UID to get our documents that we want. We initialize loading to false, then we're going to take the snapshot of our data. Then we're going to assign all of our fields to our app state so that we can have access to it in other parts of our file and folders. And if it's not, we're going to show an error. Let's work on our authentication view. So we'll have to be importing our Firebase Auth and Firebase Firestore, and also of course connect to our app state. And these are the variables we would need. And we first want to style it, so we're gonna have our light pink background, and we're going to have our text that says welcome to our I Love You More app. Then we'll style it. Then if it's sign up, we're going to want our username, and if it's just sign in, then we would just want our users to be using their email. Next, we're gonna have our two input fields. Those are emails and passwords. And we'll have our sign in, sign up button. Then in the very end, we also want to have a button that says, oh, if it's currently in sign in, we can say, oh, do you have an account? If you don't have it, then you can sign up. and vice versa. And we also want to show our users the error message. So if there's an error with your login or sign up, then this is where the error message would be. Let's write our sign up. So we want to create user using our Firebase auth, and we need our email and password. And if there's an error, we want to show an error message. And we want to generate the user code. We'll be writing that function later. And we want to initialize our data reference using our user ID. And in our data, we want to have the user code, partner code, email, username. Color would just be 0 for now. Empty for now, count 0. And the last update should be the current date. And if there's an error, we want to say we failed to save our user data and we want to return. And of course, we're having to update our app state here. And this is our function to generate our user code. And we're doing this a very basic way, but if you're going to use this app for like a wider audience, then you should make it more secure. Now let's move on to a sign in. So we use the same Firebase auth, and we're gonna sign in using email and password. And if there's an error, we're gonna throw an error. And on else, we're going to call our on auth success function. Let's import all of our assets. We need our background, we need our heart pixel, and our GIF files cannot be inserted into the assets, so we're gonna just use it as files, and we're gonna use the library that we installed to use it as animated image. And I'm just tweaking some styling here because I wanted 2 heart pixels to be around the welcome to our app text. And most important, our font. And how we import our font is you go to the build sections and it should be in the info. And if you click here, you say the font that we're gonna provide for the application and click on the plus button. And if you drop down, you'll see item 0, and this is where you put your font name. So if we run our app, it should be there. Next, we have our connect screen. Let's start with importing our Firebase auth and Firebase Firestore, and also importing our app state. Then we want to have our variable input partner code and error message. and also initializing our Firestore. We would need a navigation view here. And first, we want to have a title that says this is your code. And we want to have a text input, a text field that asks the user to enter their partner's code. Then we'll have our button that says connect, and this should connect to a function where we see if the partner exists, and if so, then we're going to connect them. If not, we're gonna throw a message, but that's what we're gonna do later. For now, if error message is empty, if it's not empty, we also want to show an error message that says like, oh, this person does not exist. Then we also want a sign out button, just in case the user changed their mind and want to sign into a different account. Now let's write our main function connecting to the partner. So we want to have our current user, and we take that from Firebase Auth. And if it's empty, we need to check, okay, please enter a code before you click the button. And if it's the same code, then you say you can connect to yourself. Then we go into our users collection and type check if the user code equals to the input partner's code. And if there's an error, we throw it. We're having some syntax issues right here. We'll fix that. Let's move on for now. We're gonna guard if the partner's document snapshot exists. Then if it's not, then partner code not found. And if we find our partner data, then we're gonna store it into our variable, and we're gonna access their document ID, and we're gonna set that in our app state. And if it's already connected, then we want to use our partner code. If not, we're gonna leave it as empty. And we don't want that to be empty. And if it's already connected, we are going to tell, okay, you guys are already connected, and you should actually not be seeing this page at all, but this is just a backup plan. And finally, we're going to see if the user code is equal to our app state's user code. And if it's not, then we're going to throw an error. And if there's no error finding, we're going to use our user documents screenshot, and we'll look at the first one. And if not, we're going to throw an error message. We couldn't find the data. And if we find it, we're going to create our document ID, and if it's already connected, we're say you're connected already. Okay, now that all of that is done, we want to see which colors we want to assign the user to. So we're just going to shuffle it and take whatever is the first one on the list, and the partner would be the other one. Then we're gonna update our data in batch. So we're gonna first start with our partner code into input partner code. Then we'll store our partner's UID, their color, their count, and last updated. We want the count to be 0 and last updated to be null in the very beginning. Then we're going to update our partner code using our app state and partner UID as user ID, color, partner color, count 0, and last update null. That would be for our partner's account. So we're going to commit that, and if there's an error, we want to flag it. So we just say failed to connect. Or else we're going to assign our partner code to input partner code and use ID equal to the partner UID, and it's connected to true for our app states. Let's fix some error. For some reason, we cannot be accessing the input partner. That's because we have a spelling issue right there. Okay. And we now have to write our sign out function. It's very basic. We just use auth.sign out, and we assign our app state sign it to false, and error message, we failed to sign out for any reason we couldn't sign out. And if we run, hopefully it works, but I just want to do some stylings here so that is consistent with our Auth Screen. So we're just adding our light pink background and add some spacing and add some fonts. And I wanted to make the user code looks like appealing, so we're going to have that in a different line. And we're going to use our font and stylings. Okay, let's run our app. Okay, let's try signing up. Our test user 1, then we copy the code, then our test user 2. I'm just gonna type that in right here. If you forget it, you can like go back to the database and see. So they're signed in, and because we're seeing the hello world, meaning it's the main screen, and our database looks like this. Now let's look at our main screen. So as usual, we're gonna be importing our Firestore, Firebase Auth, and this time we're also importing our image SD-Web image SwiftUI, which is to use for our animated images. So we have been initializing our data, partner data, and we're assigning our daily target to 50. Then we'll be using our styling with our pink background. And we want our sign out button at the very top. And we'll be using our font. Then we want to have our title that asks, oh, who loves more? Or it will show the winner. So we're gonna write that function later with our winner text right there. For now, our styling will have two hearts, and then the middle will be our text. Then we want to have our background. And this is to make sure that our black cat is always on the left and our orange cat is on the right. That's because I drew the image where both of them wants to be facing each other. So that's my logic right there. And I had an error here. You need to switch the label from your partner to you and you to your partner. And on here of this main screen, we want to first load our data, and we also want to check and reset the count if needed. And I'll explain why later. For now, let's move on to our button. And we're just adding our daily goal so the users know when they will win. Alrighty. Now let's start with our heart image name function. So we have four different images. It's like 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100%. So these are the ranges in the percentage that user has accomplished and the image that we want to show. And to do that, we need to find our percent using this percent function. So this is just finding the percent. And our loading data function, we need to use our user ID, of course, and then we go into our collection user, and we're gonna take a look at the screenshot. And if it's an error, we throw an error as usual. And we move on to find our snapshot, and if it exists, If not, then we throw an error that say no document found. Then we use our love data format to create our data. So self.your data would be data, and this is to have our debug on C if our partner ID exists in case if there's an error in our app state, whether we saved it or not. Now we're moving on to using our partner user ID. And first we have to throw an error. And this is the same as before. If the document exists, then we continue. If not, then we throw an error and return. So if there's any data, we cast our data using the love data set that we have. Then we assign our partner data into our data. And if not, then we catch it and throw an error. These needs to be inside here. Okay, now let's write our send love function. This is when the user clicks the I love you button. So we first check if we need to reset the counter. And then we're going to update our last update to the last time the button was clicked. And we want to reset the data to count to 0 if the last update is null or if it's not today, because every day we want it to be reset. And we increase the data count by 1 and we keep going. The thing here is we could have made this more efficient by, I don't know, like adding a delay of 5 seconds before we update the database. In that way, we will save our database cost if we have multiple users, but this is just a personal app, so we're gonna keep it that way. Then our simple sign out using Firebase Auth. And always remember to update your app state. Then this is where we check if count is needed to be reset. This is because every day we want to have a goal of 50. So we want it to be 0 in the very next day. So that's what we're gonna check and do. So we have to access both our document and our partner's document because we want to make changes to both of them. So we're using our last update field to see if it's today or not. And we also have to handle the case where both of us is not today. So we reset it to we reset both ours and theirs to 0. And we're just setting the data. Let's fix our error. We actually need to write our winner text function. Okay, let's do that right here. But before, let's do our cat view. So we want to have the data count, and we also want to have the image, and we want to have the user's name. And we'll be using the animated image, which we are using from the library that we imported. And finally, our winner text. Whoever finished the daily target first wins. And if no one has won, we say who loves more. Okay, fix some errors. Okay, we need to switch our sign out so we store more app states. Then, if we log in, then we have it. Now we want to do our logic where the user is disabled so they can't win. So if you just simply put disabled if the color is black, if you know what the color of your partner is, or you can switch up the logic however you like, then you see it doesn't work. But yours work. And if we want to make it more exciting, we can increase our count to our daily target -1. So the user, when they log in, they won't be able to exceed past 49. So if you click and you're stuck at 49 and you're never gonna win. But if you log into yours, you can freely increase it to as much as you like and you win. Let's actually change it to username instead of our code, and that should make it look so much better. There we go. Finally, what we have all been waiting for, widget. So first, let's go to File, New, Target, and choose Widget. And you can choose a name and click Activate. Then here we'll be updating our widget. But first, we need to create our app group so that we can share data between our app and our widget. So we go to Signing and Capabilities at App Group, and remember to use your bundle ID. Then we do the same for our widget. Go to Capability, App Group, and select the same one that you created for your app. It's very important. Now let's add our font. It's the same as we did before, and write the font name right here. Then we're going to import our assets. We have a different one because widget cannot use GIF, so we're going to use PNG files here. And make sure your font file is eligible for the widget too. So we have to make changes to our main screen first. So we import our widget, and then we're gonna update widget share data. And we're gonna use our user data, the app group that we just created. Then we want to store our count. we want to do our partner data, your data, partner data, winner text, and we want it to reload to all timelines. And we want to have another function that is to just try and update the widget data. Okay, so we will call that on change of your data. Anytime it changes, we're going to try and update the widget. And anytime your partner data changes, we also want to try and update that widget. It's a very simple example of how to use a widget. And now we go into our widget file, and we will first do our love entry, timeline entry. So this basically just planning out what we want. So we want our date, your account, partner account, your color, your partner color, and also the winner text. And this is the placeholder. So if there's nothing there, we want it to be 0 and initialize your color to some random, either black or orange. And next up, we're going to write our function for to get a snapshot of our data. Then we going to have our get timeline function. And here is where we're going to be connecting to our main app. And this is where you write your user defaults app group name. And these are all things that we initialize, and we're just grabbing it from the user defaults. Then we are actually gonna write the entry here with the actual data from our app. And like the placeholder and the widgets are not live like the SwiftUI, so we need to set a timeline on when we want our widget to be updated. So in this case, I will just do it every 15 minutes. And it should update if you click something though. Okay. We need to create our type lists in our provider as love entry. And now let's write our actual widget entry view. So we'll set our daily target as 50, and we'll have our progress percent. This function is the same as similar to the one we have in our actual main app. Just calculating percentage of the progress that the user has done. Then we want to do our assign which count belongs to either black or orange. And also set up our image file path. And this one is similar to the one we had in the main app as well. Just copy it from there and just paste it right here. Not sure where the error is. And now let's write our view. So we'll have a V stack and an H stack. So we're just writing our title again with 2 hearts and the text in the middle. Then we're gonna do a similar one as our main app, where we're going to have our image, but our account is gonna be on the same line as our image, so we're using HStack here. Then we're adding our background for our widget. We'll have to solve the syntax issue. Probably forgot, yep, an HStack right there. This should be there, and that should be there. Great. Now, this is to just name and write the description for a widget. Just a little description and our font families, either small or large. And we don't need that. Okay. All right, no more error. Amazing. And then we build, and there we go. Our cute little widget that works well and updates. One thing, let's remove that main from there so we can only have one main. And bonus, if you want an app icon, you go to the assets and insert anything that's like 1024 into 1024, and you should have your app icon. Hey, if you are seeing this, you made it to the very end of the tutorial, so good job! And if you find this video helpful in any way, please leave a like and subscribe, and I hope to see you again in the next one. Bye for now!